What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. The Lost Origin set is coming out in North America on September 9th, and so I wanted to do a full set review here. We'll be looking over the entire English set list according to the translations on PokeBeach, and I'm not going to go super in-depth on every single card here because this is another very large set, 247 cards, including alternate arts and whatnot. So I won't be talking a lot about the bulk cards, like, this Oddish, it's very adorable, but we will skip right on past it, and just look at cards that are, at least have some kind of potential for the standard format. In the future for these videos, I may also review cards in terms of the Gym Leader Challenge format. I know Omnipoke has started to do that, and Andrew Mahone over at Tricky Gym certainly does, the creator of GLC. So as I get more experience with that format, I may also start reviewing cards in terms of the GLC format. But today, we'll just be talking about standard format relevancy. And before we start, shout out to all my sponsors, PotownStore.com, CardTrooperGames.com, PokemonCard.io, Beast Coast Pokemon, and Dragon Shield Sleeves. Whenever you support any of those sites or channels, if you like my channel, using any of those sponsors that I mentioned, using those links and coupon codes, that all supports me and helps my channel keep going. So I appreciate that. And remember to subscribe, like, and leave a comment if you wish. Now let's look at Lost Origin. So like I said, Oddish, very cute. Gloom, amazing artwork. And Vileplume, looking pretty cool. But these cards will not see any play in standard format. They're just not up to snuff. Paris and Parasect. So Parasect, when you evolve one of your Pokemon, you may leave both active Pokemon asleep and poisoned. This is something that could see play in some conditions, but right now, there's really no catalyst or combinations of cards that would make this relevant. So, like, something to, if there's ever a broken combination that just needs a guaranteed asleep or asleep and poison, or just poison, then you could come back to Parasect, but for now, probably not relevant at all in standard. Beautyfly Beautyfly has a great ability. Draw until you have 6. We've seen draw until you have 5 on Bibarel, and that just won Worlds, right? A deck with Bibarel in it. But this is different, of course, because it's a stage 2, and that means not only, with Bibarel, you just have Bibarel and Bidoof. So one basic, one evolution. With this, you need at minimum the basic stage 1 and stage 2, or the basic of rare candy and the stage 2. And then you need to find an extra card and wait either an extra turn or have the rare candy for it to then be better than Bibarel. And it's never going to be better than Bibarel because it either comes out a turn later or also needs rare candy and just draws you an extra card. So if we were to be in a format where decks have multiple copies of rare candy by default because of the deck's construction and the cards that it's focused around, then cards like this might be able to come back into the format because we've had plenty of support stage 2 Pokemon in the past. But for right now, great ability just on a stage 2. And then we have Dustox. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused and poisoned, and it puts 8 damage instead of 1 for poison, but it's on stage 2. Not that good. We have Shiftry. Now, the Shiftry is the first one we're looking at with the Lost Zone aura around it, meaning that the card has something to do with the Lost Zone. The Lost Zone is a kind of a removed from the game pile or an exile pile. If you've played other card games, it's going to be even more discarded than a discard pile. And I believe the correct place to put your Lost Zone is above your prize cards. At least that's where we were putting it back in Lost Thunder a few years ago when the Lost Zone was part of standard format. So Shiftry is a stage 2, 160 HP. For a Grass Energy, it does 210 damage, and then you put this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into the Lost Zone. So it's a stage 2 Pokemon. We know that's not great in our current atmosphere of standard, but it does do 210 damage, so it's good enough, or it's at least interesting enough that I'm reading it right now and talking to you guys about it in this video. I don't expect it to see high levels of competitive play. Maybe it could, maybe it could be a meme deck, but you have to evolve up to stage 2. It does 210, which doesn't even one shot V stars or V maxes or some Vs. So, even the payoff isn't that great. And then you have to put it in all Pokemon attached with this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into the Lost Zone and then send up something else. So maybe if you have a deck that wants to accelerate cards into the Lost Zone, it could be okay, but probably fun tier if I had to make an educated guess. We're going to skip by these Pokemon. This Trevenant, if it's knocked out by damage from a Pokemon V's attacks, your opponent doesn't take a prize card, but you're doing 150 for 2 grass and a colorless on a stage 1 Pokemon. It's so like you're just chipping away very lightly at Pokemon, while if they knock it out with a V, they don't take a prize card, but they still knock out your Pokemon with 3 energy on it, and then you need another one. Or they could boss around it, or they can knock it out with a non-V Pokemon, or they can knock it out with damage counters or special conditions or some sort of effect. I don't think it's good. I might be overlooking this one, but I'm going to say probably not going to be good in competitive standard format. Orbeetle, stage 2 Pokemon, same disclaimer for every stage 2 Pokemon, they're stage 2. It takes a long time for them to come out onto the board or a lot of resources in your deck. Once during your turn, when you evolve this Pokemon, you may attach up to 3 energy cards from your opponent's discard pile to their Pokemon. And of course, that synergizes with its attack Mystery Wave. It does 30 damage plus 50 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So if let's say we're playing against Palkia, they have 2 energy on. This attack does 130. And then if you force 3 more energy from their discard pile, if they even have it in there, then you would knock them out with 280 if you have a twin energy on this and not a double turbo or 2 basic energies. So interesting card, but it requires your opponent to have energy in the discard already, so they could just play around this. If they figure out what your deck is trying to do, they'll just retrieve their energies of Training Cord or Nessa or Clara, depending on the deck they're playing. Not good. Magcargo, Fire colorless, does 220 and put all energy attached to this Pokemon in the Lost Zone. Not good unless we need specifically energy in the Lost Zone. Chandelure, evolve and mill 3 from your opponent's deck, not good. Delphox V, this is our first V, and it is Lost Zone oriented. The second attack, Magical Fire, does 120, and you put 2 energy from this Pokemon into the Lost Zone, and it does 120 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon as well. So 120, 120. Where have we heard this before? Rapid Strike Urshifu. The difference is Rapid Strike Urshifu gets to put that 120, 120 wherever it wants, and it can discard a single Rapid Strike energy for the cost of the attack. Or I'm sorry, it can discard Rapid Strike energy plus a card, but then go Melanie and attach a Rapid Strike energy. It can utilize the Rapid to cost as 2, to count as 2. And it also has more HP, so it will almost always survive the attack after it gets hit as well, which are some pretty key differences between Delphox V and Urshifu. But I will say that the item card we'll look at later that accelerates energy from the deck to the Pokemon, as long as you have enough cards in your Lost Zone, that could work for Delphox V. You can have Telescopic Sight on this Pokemon as well to make it do 120 active and 150 bench. It's kind of like a Zeraora V, the Rapid Strike Zeraora V, which had some experimentation online, but never had really great any competitive success, really. So I'm going to say this Delphox V is cool. It's somewhat playable. Like, you can build a functioning deck around it, maybe get some wins, maybe put up a fight against meta decks, but I don't see this being better than 15 or 25 meta decks that we already have. So I'm gonna say this is probably a no-go, but it's interesting. It has some sort of potential. It has some flavor to it that we don't have in other basic Pokemon outside of Zeraora V, which needs an attack to to be the precursor to it. So Delphox V is interesting, probably not going to have competitive success, but if you like Delphox or you like the theme that it's going for, couldn't hurt to build a deck around it. It should be like somewhat functioning and do something, to your opponent. Pyroar not good. These are not good. Dugong. So Dugong has the swim freely attack. So we just have to look at every swim freely card with this Finneon in mind, because it says, as often as you like, you may attach a water energy from hand to one of your Pokemon that has the swim freely attack. And this Dugong has the swim freely attack. So Arctic Return is the attack that's good on the Dugong. For 2 energy, it does 40x. Shuffle any number of water energy from all of your Pokemon into your deck, and it does 40 damage for each energy shuffled in this way. We've seen people play this in Japan. Is this the next Rapid Strike Malamar, or is it the next gimmick deck that flops? I'm going to vote it's the next gimmick deck that flops, but let me know if I'm wrong in the comments down below. Kingdra has a once a turn half Marnie. Once a turn, either you or your opponent shuffles their hand and puts it at the bottom of their deck that draws 4 cards. This could be very interesting on a stage 1, but on a stage 2, again, I'm gonna have to say, probably not making it into any tournament successful decks. And remember, guys, we are talking about this in terms of competitive standard format. Whatever cards you like, whatever cards you think you're going to have fun with, by all means, play with them with your friends at League, at the kitchen table, build your decks on PTCGO. I am talking about tournament atmosphere and competitive standard format. So we do have this Finneon, this is essentially as good as your Swim Freely Pokemon are. This has Swim Freely, but nothing else really going on for it. We have a new Hisuian Basculin. No, this is Basculegion. Hisuian Basculegion. Spirit Climb is free, and it does 20 for each basic energy in your discard pile. Then shovel those cards into your deck. Seems like a 15 Pokemon 40 energy meme deck, and I don't think that's any good. Kyurem V has... Okay, so Kyurem V evolves into Kyurem VMAX. Kyurem VMAX is very good. Kyurem V has instant freeze. Attach any number of water energy from your hand to your Pokemon. So if you get, like, flooded with energy on your turn 1 hand going second, you could slap a good amount of energy down with this. And then Kyurem VMAX, 330 HP. Weak to metal. Water-type Pokemon. Has the ability Ice World. Once during your turn, you may discard the top card of your deck. If it's a water energy, attach it to one of your Pokemon. So you could set the top of your deck with things like Rotom Phone, with Primate Wisdom, Oranguru. And then you have the attack Max Frost for triple water, 120 damage, plus discard any number of water energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 50 more for each energy card discarded in this way. So if you discard 3 energy, you're doing 270. And then with either a Zigzagoon or a Choice Bell or a Quick Shooting, etc., you're reaching the magical 280 number to knock out Arceus and Palkia. So this is essentially very similar to Ice Rider, except it could go over that 280 number because you can discard as many water energies as you want, as many water energies as you can get onto this Pokemon. So I do think Kyurem VMAX will see play. I think this is a good card. Probably like a 4 out of 5 card maybe, because it even has its own ability that synergizes with its attack. It's just it needs a little bit of help getting this ability to always hit. And you can also stack these. If you have multiple Kyurem VMAXs on the board, you can use multiple Ice Worlds. So I think this is a good card. It's seeing play in Japan, and I expect it to see play when Lost Origin releases here. Cramorant is this is going to be a popular card in Lost Zone engine decks, I believe. It has the ability Lost Supply. If you have 4 cards or more in your Lost Zone, ignore all energy in this Pokemon's attack costs, and it has Conniving Spit. It does 110 damage, and it's not affected by weakness. So essentially a free 110. You have to put 0 energy on this Pokemon. It's a basic. It's just swinging 110 chip damage to either finish up a knockout or set up a knockout later on, or, maybe picking off a small Pokemon like a Sobble or something. As long as you have 4 cards in your Lost Zone, you can do this for free. So this is a very efficient card that can just chip 110 damage here, 110 damage there. Good card, will be played. It's not like the core of a deck or anything. Just swinging 110 each turn is decent, but you can't get by on just Cramorant. This is going to be paired with other small Pokemon like the new Sableye and Radiant Charizard and things like that. Glastrier, I saw somebody say they thought this Pokemon's name was Calyrex, because they are a TCG player and not a VGC player. So, without Calyrex riding on the horse, its name is Glastrier. So freeze down does 40, and if the defending is a basic, it can attack next turn. They could just switch out, retreat out, anything. This card is not good, just interesting because it's Glastrier. We have a Raichu, with Trump Spark. If you've used your V-Star power, this attack does 120 more, so it does 220. That's actually not bad, but you have to have had used your V-Star power, and the good thing about single price Pokemon is not putting Vs in your deck, like just playing with single price Pokemon. So I don't know if this is anything, probably just going to end up being bulk. Electric. Then we got Magnezone V and V Star. The V, there's really nothing too crazy about. It could do 90 active, 30 to 2 of your opponent's bench. Not too bad, but you don't really want to be doing that and leaving a 210 HP Pokemon out there in this economy. So Magnezone V Star, however, does Magnet Grip 180 for Lightning Double Colorless. And if we are using a double Turbo Energy, this will be 160 damage, but that's still 2 shots pretty much everything. Search your deck for up to 2 item cards and put them into your hand. And then the V-Star Power is an attack. For Lightning, it does 90 to 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. And that's pretty good. That specifically knocks out Drizziles if your opponent doesn't have Manaphy down. So if your opponent's bench is not protected by something like Manaphy, this can just pop double Drizzile and really stifle your opponent's setup. And in the meantime, Magnet Grip, when you use this, it's helping your own setup. So I think Magnezone V-Star is very solid. It's not crazy good. It's not bad. It has flavors to it that other cards don't. Really, what you need to look for when you're evaluating V and V Star and VMAX Pokemon, it's, does this Pokemon do something that other V Star, VMAX Pokemon do not do? Does it offer something new? And if yes, if it does, is that new thing that it offers ever better than the other things that we could do with other V Stars? So this is Lightning type, and it's weak to fighting. Fighting isn't too popular right now. We do have Hisuian Decidueye V-Star in the world's winning deck, but Lightning type's very strong because Flying Pikachu VMAX and Palkia V-Star are both weak to Lightning. It gets you item cards. So, item cards are great. That's like Quick Ball, Ultra Ball, Evolution and such, Choice Belt, Big Charm, Pal Pad, Scoop Up Net if you're playing little guys in your deck. And then Electro V-Star, like I said, can just stifle your opponent's setup. If they have 2 Drizzles, you pop them both. That's really good. Or you clean up 2 Pokemon that you hit earlier. So, Magnezone V-Star is like a 3 out of 5. It's solid. It's nothing to write home about, but it's also not complete bulk. I like when we have cards that we can make a functioning deck out of this. We can beat meta decks with this. I don't know that it's better, though, than Arceus and Palkia because it's just very hard for a card to be better than Arceus or Palkia. When we're comparing V-Stars to V-Stars, Arceus and Palkia are pretty darn good. So, you have to be better than that. And then when you're comparing VMAXs, it's kind of like you have to be as good or better, or at least offer some sort of niche that competes with Mew VMAX and Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX and Flying Pikachu VMAX. And if you can't, then it's probably not good. Next, we have Rotom V. Once a turn, you can draw 3 cards, and then your ability ends. Or your ability, then your turn ends. And then Scrappy Short Circuit, 40 plus damage. You may put any number of Pokemon tools in your discard pile in the Lost Zone, and then do 40 more for each tool you put into the Lost Zone. Okay, that sounds like a big gimmick. Sounds like a gimmick. End your turn, draw 3 is fine. We've seen it on Intrepid Sword, and that card was cracked for very long. Still used in some decks. But this is a liability, and you have to probably use this on turn 1 going first to really get the most out of it. Turn 1 going second, you're just putting a 190 Pokemon that doesn't serve you any purpose later on, and then it's a free boss knockout. I think Snorlax from Vivid Voltage is probably just better for the time being if you are playing a deck that can play like Scoop Up Nuts or Bird Keeper or something like that. Dynamo, Electric, Flip a Coin, Paralyze, not good enough. Okay, Clefairy. So Clefairy's Moonwatching is interesting. If this Pokemon's in the active, you can search your deck for a Psychic Energy and attach it to each of your benched Clefairy. So you could just put a whole bunch of Clefairies on the board and then use something that moves energy around, or something like Mewtwo V-Star that wants a bunch of energy on the board. So it's interesting. And then also it wants a lot of energy on the board. It does 20 for each Psychic attached to all of your Pokemon. So if you could put Clefairy out there and then search your deck for 3 Psychics and put it on benched Clefairies, and then switch and put out another Clefairy and search your deck for 3 more energy and put those down. And, you know, you can get like, I don't know, if you can pop 2 of those abilities plus attach on turn 1 going second, then you swing for 140. It kind of sounds like Solrock Lunatone, and maybe even worse than Solrock Lunatone, so I don't know. And then we have Clefable, which lets your Pokemon take less damage from Dragon Pokemon. Maybe this could be a 1/1 tech in some decks that want to take 30 less from Giratina V-Star, which we'll get to. Gengar. Gengar is interesting. If it's in your discard pile, you may just pop it onto the bench with this ability, and then put 3 damage counters on this Pokemon. And then Shrieking Circle can do a max of 10 damage counters for 1, which isn't the worst, but you'd really just use this in Zoroark V-Star, which we'll get to Zoroark V-Star later. Keep this in mind for when we do. Let's see. Radiant Gardevoir. Radiant Gardevoir is good for any deck that wants to tank damage. The ability Devotion Veil, your Pokemon take 20 less damage from your opponent's Pokemon V's attacks. And it has a decent attack, but really you want it for Devotion Veil. So something like Goodra V-Star or Arceus V-Star may want this. Maybe even, no, not Duraludon, because you don't want a 1-prizer on the bench in Duraludon. But yeah, if you don't want to do more damage, and you don't want to discard energy to draw cards, and you're not a Radiant Charizard-centric deck, then Gardevoir Radiant is pretty good. Sableye. This card's really cool. Lost Mine for a Psychic Energy. You may use this attack only if you have 10 cards or more in the Lost Zone, and you put 12 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon and play any way you like. It's just a little bit watered down compared to Mewtwo V-Union's Psysplosion attack, which puts 16 however you like, and that's ridiculously strong, and that's on a 3-prize Pokemon. So I'd say Lost Mine doing 12 damage counters on a single prize Pokemon for 1 energy is very good if you can accelerate 10 cards into your Lost Zone. So this card I expect to see play. Mawile, no. Bennett. Bennett has a Lost Zone ability. You can choose a supporter from your discard pile, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then this card and Shuppet both go into the Lost Zone. So that it gets you a supporter card, so it's like a Versus Seeker ability, gets you supporter from discard, but it also puts 2 cards into your Lost Zone, so keep that in mind. So this could definitely see play, especially if you want cards specifically to go into your Lost Zone. This is not the Hisuian Zoroark I was mentioning. It has Hex of Ruin for free at the end of your opponent's next turn. The defending Pokemon is knocked out. There's just so many ways to switch Pokemon, but maybe this could be combined with things that increase retreat cost, or maybe lock items or rip items out of the hand, or like, disrupt the hand, and then you just get a free knockout if you like remove energy. I don't know. It sounds like control, and then you're taking knockouts, which a lot of times you don't need to do with control. You just sit back and wait for them to draw their deck. So I don't know if this is any good for Hex of Ruin. Bring Back is also control oriented, so it could just fit into a controlled deck, and then you use Hex of Ruin like as a fail safe if you need to end the game quicker, because Bring Back can also have control elements to it. Comfy. Comfy is going to be the bread and butter of Lost Zone decks. This is like Mew Celebration, Stellar Wish Jirachi, Snorlax, Amazing Rare Jirachi. It's like all of these cards, but specifically for Lost Zone. So ability, if this is in the active, you may look at the top two cards of your deck and put one of them into your hand, the other into the Lost Zone. Scoop up net, send out the next Comfy. Do it again. Air Balloon, send up the one you just scoop up netted. Do it again. And just accelerate a bunch of cards into the Lost Zone. And you could be on your way with things like that Cramorant, maybe even turn one going second, start attacking with it. So Comfy is going to be a card to familiarize yourself with. I think you'll be seeing this a lot in Lost Origin Standard. Worst gift, 10 damage for each damage counter on all of your opponent's Pokemon. Interesting, but I don't think it probably won't. No. There's better things than this. Okay, Spectrier, choose two of your opponent's Pokemon and put 2 damage on each of them. A nice starting attack if it had maybe a utility ability or a better second attack, but just Night Steps, I don't think it's worth it for. Enamorous V, as long as this Pokemon's in the active, prevent effects of your opponent's abilities done to your Pokemon with psychic energy attached. It's so specific, right? It has to be active. And okay, so let's look at its attack first. So if it's active, it's using this attack, probably Blooming Tail. For Psychic, colorless, 100 damage, or 80 if you're using a double turbo. Attach up to 2 basic energies from your discard to your Pokemon in any way you like. It's not bad. And so you could attach psychic energy to the things you don't want to be affected by abilities, but they're even if they're not being affected by abilities, they're still going to be boss KO'd. So what's the point? Like it protects you from like Headbutt Tantrum, from quick shooting. I don't think this is any good because it has to be in the active, and then it only prevents effects of abilities, and it only protects those Pokemon from abilities if they have psychic energy attached to them, and it doesn't even protect itself. Like, you could have taken out any of these stipulations and it probably still wouldn't have been good. Hisuian Arcanine, this card has seen play in Japan. It has a free attack, 10 damage plus. If you have no cards in your hand, this attack does 150 more damage. So you can swing 160 for free after you dump your hand, and then use Radiant Venusaur after the attack to just draw up to 4. And that's how you kind of like, that's like your engine. Radiant Venusaur would be very important to this deck. This could also just go in like a Zoro box style deck, dump your hand, take a knockout 160 times 2 on a fighting weak Pokemon, and then you get 2-3 prizes from that. Draw next turn. It's like you didn't even play yourself down to 0 cards. So this is good. It's not great, but it's good. So this Machamp, 150 HP. If your opponent has 3 or fewer prizes remaining, it gets plus 150 HP. And its attack does 200, and you can attack next turn. Or this Pokemon can attack next turn. So honestly, they're trying to make stage 2 Pokemon really good. I feel like this Machamp, they made this and then it still wasn't good enough to compete with V-Stars, and that's why we're getting that's why we're getting EXs the way we are next year. Like this Machamp, like they pushed the crap out of this thing. They're like, okay, if the opponent's winning, even if they're not winning, if they're just in the game, by mid game, this Pokemon is 300 HP and it can do 200 damage. And guess what? We're probably still not going to see this in competitive play. So, like, this card is, I feel like it's as good as a stage 2 can get without being played. Like, a stage 2 has to be incredible utility, like Inteleon and Inteleon, or it would have to be broken, like actually broken, like this card just wins the game type deal. And thankfully they don't print that, but I don't know that we can really get stage 2s into the game without the EXs that are coming next year, just because everything else is so efficient and so consistent. So this Machamp, if a stage 2 is going to do it in the Lost Origin format, it's probably Machamp. So we'll see what happens. I'm a huge Machamp fan. I played Machamp back in '08. Um, so it's a cool Pokemon. I'd like to see it do something. I'll give it like a 2 out of 5. Prove me wrong. Make it a 5 out of 5. Win a regionals with it. Somebody do it. Um, Okay, nothing, nothing. Okay, so this Aerodactyl V-Star, right? Listen up here, guys. It's cool as heck, but it's not good. Okay, actually, maybe its first attack isn't bad. It's a decent fighting type Pokemon because it does 240 for 3 energy, and you mill the top 3 into the Lost Zone, so it could work with Lost Zone stuff. Like that's decent. It's low HP, but it's V-Star power for a colorless. As this Pokemon is in play, it gains, as long as this Pokemon's in play, it has an ability that says your opponent's Pokemon V have no abilities. The issue here is, let's say you go first, attach pass. Your opponent's an Arceus deck, they attach pass. You activate Ancient Star, and you say your opponent's Pokemon V in play have no abilities. Your opponent, uses Drizzle for something, and they get off, if they get off a turn 2 attack, essentially is what I'm saying. Even if you go first, you use this to turn off Starbirth against Arceus, which is the best V-Star power in the game. If they attack on turn 2, there's a good chance they're still going to out-tempo you, because they only need to knock out this Aerodactyl, specifically this Aerodactyl right here. And when it's gone, they can Starbirth again. They can use Dark Acid. They can use Luminion, whatever abilities they're out there trying to use, Um, so this card's super duper interesting and cool, but I don't think it's good. Pseudo Wudo. No, Gligar, Gliscor. Metacham, Relicanth. Gastrodon. When have we ever seen a Gastrodon that would see the light of day at a tournament? Leave it in the comments. If this Pokemon's in play, your opponent puts their prize cards they would take into the Lost Zone instead of putting them into their hand. It's a stage 1. Are you really going to evolve up into a stage 1 just so when your opponent beats you, they don't put their cards into their hand? Like, this seems like a waste of deck space. No. Stone Journer. A basic Pokemon, 140 HP. Attach up to 2 fighting energy from your hand to your Pokemon and play in any way you like. I mean, the attack's decent, but no. Spiritom's a cool gimmick. I don't think it's good, though. Drapion V is good specifically against Mew. VMAX. Yeah, specifically against Mew. And then Drapion V-Star. I don't think it's good. I'm just gonna say blanket, not good. Like, let's say it gets hit by a Palkia for 240. Next turn, you do 10 damage for 1. 10 damage for 3 energy, I mean. Like, okay, yeah, we're moving on. Like I said, guys, in case you're skipping around and you get this part, but not the last time I said it, this is for competitive standard format. If you're having fun, have fun, do whatever you want. I love when people play casual. Card games do not exist without casual playing, but this is a competitive standard format set review. Radiant Hisuian Sneasler, one of the stupidest named Pokemon in the history of the game. They took Sneasel and they made it Sneasler. It's Sneasler. 2 more damage on your opponent's poison Pokemon during Pokemon checkup. So if there's a poison deck, Radiant Sneasler can go into it. Not good for any other purpose. Radiant Steelix, so it can do finishing rend. It can, like, if you only need to knock out 1 more Pokemon, this could do it. Discard cards from the top of your deck until you have 1 card left. And it does 30 for each energy discard in this way. So let's say you play, I don't know, let's say you play 14 energy in your deck. 3 of them are on this Pokemon. And 4 of them are either in your hand, in your prizes, in your deck, in your discard. So you know you have 7 energies left in your deck. I think I meant, okay, so what I meant to say was you have 3 on this and 4 either in your prizes, hand, bench, or discard, 7 left in your deck. So let's say you hit all 7 because, you know, and as long as 1's not the last card. So you mill your whole deck, 7 of them are energy. It does 210 more, so you did 270 if that finishes up a Pokemon, and you're playing that many energy in your deck naturally, and Radiant Steelix can fit into it. There's a lot, you'll notice I'm saying ifs and buts and ands. So this card is interesting. It's not complete bulk, but it takes a very specific deck for it to fit into, and it's probably just going to be that one-time use on the last turn of the game type deal, which is fine. There's a lot of cards that are good for that. Maybe Radiant Steelix will be that. I think this is like a 2 out of 5, though. Galarian Berserker. Okay, interesting. And we have Giratina V and V Star. Abyss Seeker is a great attack. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put 2 of them into your hand and the other 2 into the Lost Zone, and then it also has a Shred attack. They're just giving Giratina everything. Giratina V Star, though, is the main attraction here. For Grass Psychic Colorless, it does Lost Impact 280 and put 2 energy attached to your Pokemon, not specifically Tina, into the Lost Zone. And then Star Requiem V-Star Power for Grass Psychic. You can only use this if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone, which you're going to build your deck around putting cards into the Lost Zone. And your opponent's active Pokemon is poof, knocked out. Very strong card. It does 280 without damage modifiers, and then it also just does a million. It knocks out your opponent's active Pokemon for 2 energy if you've filled the requirement of Lost Zone, which you'll be trying your darndest to do throughout the game, and Lost Impact even helps. So essentially, you Lost Impact twice, and then you Star Requiem once, and the game is over. This card is busted, certified 7 out of 5 stars. Broken card, no printed weakness on the card. Incredible card. Okay. Hisui and Goodra is a stage 2. It has ignore all damage done by your opponent's Pokemon Vs to your basic Pokemon that have metal energy attached. It's a stage 2, but it can just completely wall out your opponent with your basic Pokemon with metal energy attached. But it has to be basics. I don't know. I think Jake Gearhart made an interesting tweet about it with Arceus or something. But this is a stage 2. You know, we're very skeptical about stage 2s around here. And for good reason. Because they're never good unless they are Inteleon. Unless they provide some insane utility that you can only get in a stage 2. Or they're broken. This applies, I guess it gives you a utility you can't find elsewhere, but you could just play Miltank that's a basic Pokemon and save yourself all the work. And then we have Hisui and Goodra V and V-Star. I actually very much like Hisui and Goodra V-Star. For Water Metal Colorless, it does 200 damage, and then next turn it takes 80 damage less from attacks. And its V-Star power says, heal all damage from this Pokemon. So this, I think, could be a very strong deck combined with the Lost Zone engine and combined with a supporter card that we'll look at in a moment, which the name is escaping me at the moment, but it's a good supporter card that prevents damage done to your Pokemon if you have X, Y, or Z amount of Lost Zone cards, which we'll get to that in a moment. I think Hisuian Goodra V-Star is good, though. And it's Dragon type, which means no weakness. Pidgeot V is not good. Lickitung, Licky, Porygon, Snorlax. 180 for 3 energy is not bad at all. Could be in like a Raihan twin energy type deck, like Radiant Charizard style deck. Raihan attached twin, swing 180. Not bad. You don't really care that it's asleep because this thing's getting knocked out next turn because 150 is like pebbles in standard format. So, not complete bulk. And then I think the last good Pokemon we'll look at probably is Hisuian Zoroark V and V Star. So Hisuian Zoroark V Star, colorless, weak to fighting. It has the attack Baleful Curse, 50x damage. This attack does 50 damage for each of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. Remember the Gengar that says you could put it from discard to bench and then put damage counters on it? It's meant to go with this Hisuian Zoroark V-Star. And then the ability is a research. Your V-Star power is pop it once a game, discard your hand, draw 7. So, not bad. It's probably one of the, like, it's in contention for being somewhere between the 3rd and 5th best V-Star power, I think, if we're assuming that, actually, maybe 4th through 6th, if we're assuming that Arceus, Palkia, and Giratina are top 3. This is in contention for being somewhere in, like, the top 8 range. Like, dump your hand, draw 7's pretty good. We play supporters that say that all the time. The attack does count itself. So if you have 6 Pokemon, your bench and your active, and they each have a damage counter on it, that's 300. If you're attacking with a double turbo, that's 280. And then with a belt, that's 310. So this Pokemon can do a whole lot of damage. It does have that stipulation of needing damage counters on the Pokemon. But between that Gengar and things like Old Cemetery, and I think we have something that damages, we have a stadium of some sort that damages Pokemon when you bench them. It might even be coming out in this set. So this is a good card. It's not as good as Giratina, and I don't know if I think it's better or worse than Hisuian Goodra V-Star. I know this has gotten a lot of hype, but I also think Hisuian Goodra V-Star is underrated. So this is either the 2nd or 3rd best. I'm going to say this is the 3rd best attacker in the deck, in the set. Giratina being 1st, Kyurem being 2nd, and Hisuian Zoroark being 3rd. And we'll say Hisuian Goodra's 4th for now, just because it's a little less tested out. A lot of people are working on Hisuian Zoroark V-Star, but I do think Hisuian Goodra has a lot of potential, especially since it comes without a weakness, just like Giratina does. Okay, and we're done with the Pokemon, going on to the trainers. We've got Arc Phone. Look at the top card of your deck, then return it, and you may choose one of your face-down prize cards and switch it with the top card of your deck. Very random. Yeah, I don't know. It's okay if your deck really relies on things not being in the prize cards, but it's a random 1 out of 6 on your prize cards, putting it back into your deck. So, I don't know. Arazu, supporter, search your deck for 3 evolution Pokemon that don't have a rule box and put them into your hand. I mean, this gets Drizzles, it gets Inteleons, it gets the other Inteleon, it gets Bibarel. Probably wouldn't play this in a Bibarel deck because Bibarel is usually accompanied by V-Stars and V-Maxes. So then they have to be non-rule box Pokemon, but seems great for a Drizzle and Inteleon style deck that doesn't rely on playing another supporter that turn. Unfortunately, a lot of them rely on playing Raihan or Clara or Irida currently, so Arazu seems good, but it's not great. Box of Disaster goes, it's a Pokemon tool attached to a Pokemon V. If the V this card is attached to had full HP and is knocked out by damage, put 8 on the attacking Pokemon. A lot of stipulations, like a Headbutt Tantrum or a Quick Shooting just completely nullifies this card, or a Special Condition, or knocking out with an effect, or Tool Scrapper, Tool Jammer. So I don't like this. It's too passive. It's too conditional. Chorus's Experiment. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put 3 of them into your hand, and put the remaining cards in the Lost Zone. This is good. You get to look at the top 5 and pick the 3 best for you in that situation. They could be any cards, trainer, energy, or Pokemon. And then you get to put 2 cards into your deck. And now the thing is, that's a positive because you're only putting this into decks typically where you want cards in the Lost Zone. So you're getting to essentially draw 5 cards and put 2 of them into the Lost Zone and treat that 2 into the Lost Zone as a positive effect. So it's a draw 3 plus put 2 somewhere else you need them. Very good supporter for Lost Zone decks. Damage Pump is meant to be used with Hisuian Zoroark V-Star. Move 2 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to your other Pokemon in any way you like. This may be like a soft inclusion into those decks, but I don't actually think it'll... I don't think Hisuian Zoroark V-Star will actually function off of this card, because this is a very, like, -1 type card. You don't draw cards, you don't necessarily get to do extra damage. You're just working into your deck's theme with it. It's very dead on turn 1. It can be very dead in the late game. So it's a very, 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 very heavy into a gimmick, and these cards typically aren't that great. Fantina is the card I was mentioning that goes very well with Hisuian and Goodra V-Star. You can only play it if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone, and then during your opponent's next turn, your Pokemon take 120 less damage from the attacks of your opponent's Pokemon V. That includes V-Star, and it includes V-Max, and it includes V-Unions. So Hisuian and Goodra can go swing 200 and take 80 less next turn. If you played Fantina, it's taking 200 less next turn. That Hisuian Goodra V-Star is not getting knocked out unless it's by something like, I don't know, Giratina V-Star that says knock out the opponent's Pokemon, but we'll get there when we get there. Fantina is a very interesting card, and I expect it and hope that it will get play. Iskin, bad card. Lady who needed this. Lake Acuity. Pokemon with water or fighting energy on them take 20 less damage from the opponent's Pokemon's attacks. I think this is cool. You could like combine this and the new special energy, V Guard energy, that says your Pokemon take 30 less from V attacks, and, you know, put some basic water or fighting energy into Blissey, and just make Blissey even tankier is one idea of this. I also like it that it doesn't have to be water and fighting Pokemon. It's Pokemon with water or fighting energy on them. So this card's like okay. There will be some decks where it's like, oh yeah, we can toss a Lake Acuity into there, but it's not really going to be the highlight of anybody's day. It's just an okay card that'll maybe see some use because of the conditions that it provides. Lost City. When a Pokemon's knocked out, it's put into the Lost Zone. This can benefit you because if you want your Pokemon to go into the Lost Zone because you need more cards into the Lost Zone, this can also be a counter to decks that play a lot of one-of tech Pokemon, something like Radiant Charizard. You know, if you play down Lost City and then knock out your opponent's Radiant Charizard and they built their whole deck around Radiant Charizard, you probably just won, because now it's in the Lost Zone. So Lost City's cool. It's a pretty good card for what it is, and it'll be used when either you want your Pokemon to go into the Lost Zone to add to your total Lost Zone count, or you're expecting decks with not thick enough Pokemon lines or things like Radiant Pokemon that they can only have one of, and you want those things gone for the whole game. Lost City's going to do that for you. Lost Vacuum is another way to get cards into your Lost Zone. Put a card from your hand to the Lost Zone, and then put either a tool card or a stadium card in play into the Lost Zone. So if you're removing one of your own cards, this puts 2 cards into the Lost Zone for just 1 card. I mean, you're going -2 cards because you're removing your own card and you're also dumping a card from your hand and you're playing this card down. So technically -3 if you remove your own card. But if it's all about getting cards into the Lost Zone, it's for a good cause. Mirage Gate. This is the busted card. You can only play this if you have 7 or more in your Lost Zone. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy of different types and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like, then shuffle your deck. I think this might be the best card of the set. This card is actually broken. If you're a regular of this channel, I don't use the word broken a lot unless I'm saying if something did this, then it would be broken. I don't actually call the cards they print broken very much because broken implies that it's like breaking rules of the game or it's like so good that it could break the format, like make things work how they're not supposed to work essentially. And Mirage Gate is very good. We'll use this with Hisuian Goodra V-Star, with Giratina V-Star, um, and it doesn't even have to be Pokemon that have anything to do with the Lost Zone. This is for any Pokemon, for Radiant Pokemon, for Amazing Rare Pokemon, for Pokemon EX to come out in the future. This can work with anything. That's why it's so incredible. And I think there will be some crazy decks to come out of this card in the next 2 to 3 years. Misfortune Sisters. Look at the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. You may discard any number of item cards you find there, and then they shuffle the cards you didn't discard back into their deck. Weird kind of almost control, but it's random. No, I don't like it. Panic Mask. Prevent all damage done to the Pokemon this card is attached to by the attacks of your opponent's Pokemon with 40 HP or less remaining. So if you're expecting to do like 240 to a V-Star, and specifically against V-Stars that don't play healing or big charms, and they don't play tool scrappers or tool jammers, that deck doesn't exist. So this is bad. Riley, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck and ask your opponent to choose 2 of them. Discard the cards they chose and put the others into your hand. This feels like this is worst Colress's experiment. Unless you specifically have so many cards in your deck that you don't want to discard, but you also want to dig 5 and get 3 without dumping your hand because you want to keep other resources. Very specific times when I think this is better than Colress's experiment. This is like a 2 out of 5, 1.5 out of 5 card. It's like it has times where it's a card that you could or maybe should play, but they're very few. Thornton, choose a basic Pokemon in your discard pile, switch it with one of your basic Pokemon in play. Any attached cards, damage counter, special condition, etc. remain on the new Pokemon. So has to be basic Pokemon to basic Pokemon. It can be V, it can be, future EX Pokemon, whatever. Goes from discard to in play. This could be okay for Radiant Pokemon because you can only play one of them. I'm not sure if this has any like crazy applications. So leave it in the comments down below. It's a useful card to have around in case combos do arise where this could be the catalyst for them. But I'm not really impressed or excited about this card, but I think it's a fine card. And it's nice to have a card like this in standard. Toolbox. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Reveal any number of Pokemon tool cards you find there and put them into your hand. Right now we have Drizzile and Inteleon, so why would you ever play this? And even if you didn't have Drizzile and Inteleon, just play a card that draws cards, probably, and hope that you find a tool card. Because that's essentially what you're doing here. You're drawing 7 and hoping that the tool card you want's there. So I don't think this is good at all. Volo, discard one of your benched V Pokemon and all cards attached. It's almost like healing your Pokemon. This could be good for a deck that's similar to Arceus Duraludon, where it doesn't want where it doesn't want easy targets on your bench. I think this is very niche use. Again, it's kind of like Thornton. It's a card that I like having in standard for when it really fits into a deck. And it's like, wow, that Volo, this kind of effect, if I could just remove this Pokemon from the board, that would be so good in this deck. I like it for those kinds of situations, but it's not a general all-around use card. Wind Up Arm. The Pokemon this card's attached to can attack even if it's asleep or paralyzed. Seems pretty useless. I know it's for the Electrode, but it's not good. Gift Energy. If this Pokemon's knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, draw until you have 7. It could be worse, but right now I think we always play Capture Energy if we're playing a Utility Energy. So maybe after Capture Energy leaves, we can consider that. And let's see. This Gallade, I feel like we didn't actually look at Gallade. Maybe it, because it's, I think it has like an alternate tin art coming out, so maybe the regular isn't in the set. Rising Sword, 20 plus 50 for each prize card you've taken. So if you've taken 4 prize cards, this does 220. And you can like Raihan attach to it. It's fighting type, so it maybe hits a fighting type for weakness, even after 3 prizes taken. It's not horrible. It would probably only be used if there are fighting type Pokemon you want to knock out. They can't be knocked out by other things, and there's not a better fighting type Pokemon to do it. And probably if you're playing Raihan or Energy Switch or other kinds of energy acceleration in your deck, then it seems fine. But it's kind of like a last turn knockout kind of deal Pokemon, in my opinion, because it's only 220 HP, and it needs to be late in the game for it to work because of its scaling with prize cards that you've taken. So it's fine for what it is. It's nothing crazy. And then I think that's everything. Arezu, yeah, all these full art supporters are ones we looked at the regular arts of. Same goes for these rainbow Pokemon and rainbow supporters, gold things. Gold collapse, gold. Okay. And then there's also Lost Origin Trainer Gallery cards, but none of these are cards we either don't already have or aren't in this set as other arts. So that's going to be the entire Lost Origin set review from me, and look forward to my top 10 countdown. I usually do a top 10 video for each set. And talk about the cards you should really be looking at. But I mean, I think you guys, if you've made it to the end of the video, you can already guess that Giratina V-Star and what's it called? Lost Mirror. I don't know why I always call this Lost Mirror. It reminds me of Silver Mirror from the Plasma era. Mirage Gate, so far off every time. I can tell you already the Mirage Gate and Giratina are going to be in my top 10. You could probably allude what some of the others ones will be, but look out for that video anyway. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.